All right, we should be live.
All right. So, hello, welcome. This is the fifth episode of Stream of Truth, and we are broadcasting live right now from beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. And I am Dr. Tassel, and this is
Sean Kelly.
the amazing Sean Kelly.
Just trying to check to make sure we're live. It looks like we are. We are.
Okay.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
There we go. Okay, it's on this one too. Okay, all right.
So we have a juicy / heavy / I think topic that we can all maybe resonate with at times. This feeling of loneliness and
Yep.
feeling alone.
And hopefully we'll be able to offer some insight into how you can traverse these things that we've had to go through a lot in our lives and I think everyone goes through
Yes.
periods of these.
Yeah.
Or there's an underlying current of it in many cases.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. So I think what we'll do is share some of our own experiences with loneliness and then some ways to navigate and expand from
Awesome.
the experience.
Before we do that, though, do you want to do the mission statement?
I do, yes. Thank
Awesome.
you. Yeah, so this is our mission statement for the Stream of Truth: to bring self-healing and expansion through living in our truth, sharing practices, experiences, and teachings in an uncensored, unrestrained way, and always with love, helping others understand and know that they are their own hero.
Woo!
Woo! So maybe we could just start with why this topic has come up as sort of
Yeah.
meaty for us today.
Yeah, so I'm in Nashville. And when I'm here, it's amazing. But eventually, I leave, and that becomes a challenge because at minimum, I'm gone at least 2 weeks because I have to do this isolation thing in Canada. We have these weird rules right now, which are super fun.
Super fun.
And so, every time I'm here, we have to go through this parting where I'm gone at least 2 weeks. I think this time I'm only going to be gone about 2.5 or 3 weeks, but still, it's almost like we have to go through this transition period of, I don't even know what to call it, like separating, really, I guess separating.
Yeah.
And it's challenging for both of us. We both navigated a little differently. And so it brought up a lot for us today, and we just thought, let's talk about it today.
Yeah, totally.
While we're going through it.
I'm really excited to talk about because it's such a painful experience for me, and I think for you too. I feel I've experienced so much loneliness throughout my life, and I would actually say it has been the biggest challenge of my life, has been feeling lonely. So, and I think I felt maybe very ashamed about feeling lonely, and what other feelings it might bring up for me. Sometimes maybe not even wanting to be here. At times, the feeling was so intense. And I think there is a lot of stigma around all of that in our society. And especially being a therapist, like I'm not supposed to have any of those feelings or something. I'm not supposed to be so together. And even this is a little tangent, but we were talking about, I feel that where I land on being together is that I'm just truthful with myself and what is coming up. Like that's how I'm together. I'm not together in that it's not like I don't ever feel intense emotions, or that sometimes things are very challenging, or sometimes I don't know how to figure something out. It's that, okay, something's coming up and I'm going to look at it and be truthful with it and not pretend that's not affecting me. So that's where I'm landing on being together.
Yeah, I think too, for me, I don't have that. I think I want to highlight just how important it is to not try to dismiss our feelings.
Yes.
That because we can feel a lot of shame around our feelings. We can, especially if we're, we have to present a certain image, or we feel we have to present a certain image, and so we can sort of double down on the negativity because we're feeling a bad feeling, and then we judge ourselves for feeling the bad feeling, and it's kind of like a never-ending spiral downwards.
And I find something kind of interesting maybe to share is this is your second stay here in Nashville. So your first stay, I was feeling a lot of intense feelings about you leaving, a lot of sadness, a lot of lonely feelings, and I felt super embarrassed about it, partly because you are very spiritually evolved and very masterful with your emotions, I would say. And I think I felt a little bit less than, that I was feeling like so much human emotion and I didn't quite know what to do with it. And so I kind of pretended that I was not feeling what I was feeling.
Yeah.
And then I felt even worse because I was abandoning myself. And I do find that if I allow myself to feel the feelings, they will pass through pretty quickly. And there will be something on the other end of that. So this time around, I was determined to not abandon myself. And the way I was feeling it was I just wanted to be loving towards myself and gentle towards myself about whatever I was feeling. And even if it was a little awkward telling you what I was feeling, like I was okay with that. Like my first concern was that I was not going to abandon myself and I was going to be truthful with what I was feeling. And I think this is an area where I think I can expand, and I think maybe even I can learn from you about how to sort of navigate this aspect. And that also made me feel kind of vulnerable, that there was something maybe that I could learn from you. I had to get over that as well.
I think this time too, I've been trying to be more expressive. When I think a few minutes ago I said I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Just things like that where it can help for me to vocalize. In the past, I'm not as good at saying these things as they arise. I sort of deal with them quickly on my own and then just continue about my day. And it can seem like I don't experience feelings almost sometimes, right? I can seem almost just, and I think my process is just a little different than a lot of people's, and but because of the way I sort of seem, it just seems like I'm fine.
Yes, and that can feel difficult for me.
Yeah.
I hate to admit it. I wish I'd be like, oh, he seems fine. That's great. I'm so happy for him. And there certainly is a part of me that feels that way. But then there's another part that's like, oh,
why is he so okay with this?
why is he so okay with it? And then also, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not okay with it?
Yeah.
And am I broken or I need fixing? And so, yeah, it's a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
And I also want to just segue into... This has been, as I said, I think the biggest emotional challenge of this lifetime is loneliness. And I notice that I can very easily look towards people, you, my children, other people, to try to not feel lonely. And I'm not saying that's all bad, or I don't even want to use that word at all. I think it's wonderful to have friends and companionship, but I do think there's something greater within me that I can continue to access more, so that when I am alone, I don't feel as lonely. And then we were also talking about I was kind of getting this in from my guidance, I think, that this core feeling of loneliness, which has definitely come up more since my awakening, seems related to just this initial individuation from God, from Source, and just a remembering maybe, or a longing just to be one, totally one again.
Yeah.
With Source.
Yeah, I would say that's my understanding of loneliness, and I think all humans are generally going to feel it, and then try to fix that through finding loving connections to something outside, usually relationships or children or
Yeah.
things like that. And it's because in those moments we're feeling love, I think, and that
Yes.
brings us closer to source
Yes.
when we're experiencing source with another.
Yes.
And then we feel like we've healed a bit of that loneliness, and so then we can start to like attribute, oh, this is how I correct loneliness. I find it else outside.
Yes.
And we certainly can, and there's nothing, like you said, there's nothing bad about it, I
Yeah.
don't think. It's almost just an understanding like that we're doing that helps us to be aware of when maybe it's not the best that we're doing, like maybe we're, because we can avoid the loneliness feeling by engaging with others to try and help.
Yes.
They'll make me not feel lonely.
Yes.
When I think truly what we're eventually sort of gonna learn is that the only one that can make us feel whole is ourselves, and we have to sort of be able to sit with ourselves. And I think one of the reasons that we were talking about this a little earlier, I think one of the reasons that I'm good at it is I've been in it for such a long time, and then I isolated. So when I separated from my wife, I isolated myself, and I didn't have my kids around. It was very lonely. It was so sudden and unexpected, like alone. I was just alone. I didn't have a lot of friends really. People weren't, and I also pulled away from everyone too, and just sat alone with myself for weeks and weeks. So I had to and I think that was one of the reasons I did that in hindsight, was to find a space in myself where I can accept myself almost in those states, and then find a contentness while alone. And so now when I notice that I'm going to feel alone again, I remember back to that, and I'm like, this is nothing compared to that abrupt disconnection from everything. And also feeling, at that time I felt like even relationships would not give me anything to bring me closer to source or to make me feel less alone. So I didn't even have a lot of desire to try and heal the loneliness with external relationships. And so I almost felt hopeless, right? I felt like there's nothing I can do to heal this. And I was forced to go inside and, I guess, do the inner work.
So maybe I can just talk this out with you, because I had that same experience when I left my now ex-spouse and my children. I was alone, and it's been about 4 years. And I feel I achieved a sense of contentment on my own. But then since meeting you, it's been more wobbly. And it's been a little demoralizing, I would say, because I thought, I spent all that time alone and I did all this inner work and I feel fine on my own and content. But then something about connecting with you, and our connection is really deep on a lot of different levels.
Intense.
It's very intense, very fulfilling. I guess what I find hard are the transitions.
The contrast from being together to then me not being here.
Yes.
Is very high.
Yes.
It's very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, I guess I'm just still integrating all that and figuring that out, the transitions. But I'll just be totally honest. I have felt really bad about it, that I thought, I have this. I know how to be alone. And so I'm still really just trying to figure that out. And there is shame around it. I do feel very embarrassed to myself about it. I feel embarrassed towards you about it. I feel embarrassed talking to other people about it.
when I feel it too, I want to share that I feel like I failed when it comes up. I'm like, oh, I thought I dealt with this.
Oh, okay.
So
You have that too?
I have that as well.
Okay.
That like, why am I feeling this at all? I'm aware that I don't think that this feeling serves me
Right.
generally.
Right.
I think I've traversed it
Yeah.
quite enough.
Right, right.
So I don't feel that there's new insight for me to gain from this feeling. And so I use a process that I just call flipping the coin, really, where it shifts the polarity of the energy.
Yeah.
And I will talk about this probably in another video or something, because it's a big, huge topic. We don't have enough time. The battery's running out really fast, like you said it would.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I should have believed you. My apologies.
15. Okay, we still.
Yeah, it's.
I can take this out and we can plug.
Well, if we do that, we'll drop the stream probably. I think we're gonna just have to.
Okay, we'll just go until this.
Yeah, so if we just disappear, it's my fault. But we, I have to catch a flight anyway, so it's.
You're
this
leaving.
This was gonna be a shorter one anyway.
But can you
I'll
at
continue.
least tell some of it, partly because I want to know more about it, so I can employ it myself.
Yeah, it's not the easiest to employ until you start to do it a bunch. But essentially, when we're experiencing loneliness, really what we're experiencing is love, but we're looking at the other side of that energy, because loneliness is a drawing in to a calling for source, which is answering us, but we're not listening.
Okay.
So in loneliness, you can flip that polarity to recalling your wholeness, and you have to sort of find the opposite feeling. So if you're impatient, you have to find the patience.
Yeah.
Because the patience is there too.
Yeah.
It's the same energy that comes in. So when we feel lonely or a negative feeling, it's the same energy that would give us a positive feeling. We're just choosing to look at the negative aspect of that feeling and those moments. And now those moments are usually directed either by our conditioning or our higher self. So we can be sort of given it as a bad feeling, and then that bad feeling is an opportunity to flip the coin and look at the good. And then as we do that consistently, we start to build a sort of habit around it, where as the feeling comes in, we notice that it's not totally real. Now, I'm not suggesting that if it's new feelings that we don't investigate it. Like, we do, as you always say, feel your feelings.
Yeah.
Feel your feelings. Don't deny them. It's not denying it. It's not like abandoning the feeling. It's literally sort of just choosing the other polarity that is there too.
In your practice, do you allow yourself to feel it at all? If you do feel it and then do this polarity switch?
As you get more tuned up with doing it, the catalyst is lessened. So it's usually we build the loneliness. We build, or the negative feeling, we look at it and then it confirms that it's there, and then we look at it again and it confirms it's there. This whole
story.
And it builds, and so when I notice it, I just notice it, but I don't identify as I am lonely. Mm-hmm. I am noticing loneliness arise.
Okay.
And then I shift it, knowing that it's an illusion. But you have to know that it's not real, right? You have to sort of. It's not that it's not real. It's that it's sort of, and I was talking about this a little bit yesterday. Mm-hmm. In those moments, we're choosing either fear or love. It's one or the other. Those are the two energies that are in all emotion. Mm-hmm. And they're both there. We just experience them in different ways. And when we can sort of find the way to the opposite feeling, not the opposite feeling, but the opposite expression of fear, then we can find love. And But it's almost like repatterning the mind, the subconscious and conscious mind to choose love in all the moments. And then it becomes a sort of just, it becomes a lot more just natural. And so, but I still feel it. It comes up, but I don't build it really. I do get, I want to say too, I do sometimes. And you've seen me in states where I've been very frustrated, and I've even like called people names, and like I'm not perfect with it at all. So
Can I just kind of try it out right now as like a practice?
yeah.
And maybe other people can try it along with us if they're feeling loneliness. Okay, so definitely feelings of, it's more like, I guess if I really had to nail it down, it's more of like, with you leaving, it's more of a fear of loneliness that I'm having. Like, you haven't even left yet.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not actually experiencing loneliness yet.
It's more like an anxiety.
It's a fear. Oh my gosh, he's been here 12 days. We've been together the whole time. It's been amazing. So I think I fear, oh, what am I going to feel when he leaves?
Yeah, and last time it was very destabilizing, I think, for you, right?
Yeah, last time I went through kind of a short, dark night of the soul.
Yeah, and
so maybe I fear that.
I was very busy with my kids and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I had them an extra day as well. Mm-hmm. So I was not super available on the phone.
And you were not really expressive maybe about
I wasn't really talking about
might have been feeling.
Yeah, so it was challenging.
So that's an interesting little discernment for me right there, is that I haven't yet been experiencing loneliness, but I've been experiencing a projected fear. Oh my gosh, what am I going to feel?
Yeah, an anxiety around what is to come.
What is to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I've just been experiencing fear.
And so in that case, I think the opposite would be a faith, a trust that you are strong enough to endure whatever does come. That I'm in a more expanded space where I'm more understanding what you're going through and able to adjust a little bit to help. So I'm also there for you in a bit more of a better way, or a little bit more expressive, almost a trust that it won't be as bad as you think it will be, because if you can imagine, the anxiety is manifesting that feeling to come to you later.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
I'm creating it. I'm setting it up.
You're building it up to come later. Yeah.
I'm visualizing it. I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be so awful.
Yeah.
And then I'm creating that. Yeah.
But you can switch that at any time, change the story, and just pull that energy out of the universe. That it shifts the polarity of it, and you could be grateful for how well you're gonna handle this separate time. And I'll be right back.
Yeah, I think that's all really good, and I just think
I'm so sweaty. It's hot down here.
Hot as hell in southern Tennessee. I think the big shift for me is moving past the shame or embarrassment with myself, first of all, and just really recognizing, you know what, this actually has been sort of a lifelong challenge for me, and accepting that and not being embarrassed about that, and communicating it with you, and asking for help. Like, I think yesterday I said something like, I want to just be able to say I'm feeling this, and could you give me a hug or something? And then after, adjusting my behavior and my thoughts, but like honoring where I'm at.
Yes.
Honoring where I'm at, and wanting to expand here, but like, just first of all, just being gentle and honoring, like, I'm not great at this, and it's been a challenge my whole life, and I want to get better, and I want to evolve, but this is like the hardest challenge for me, and I like the idea of also maybe setting the intention or visualizing that it's going to be fine, rather than I'm creating that something's going to be awful.
Yeah.
I'm setting that up for myself.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why when I notice myself doing that, I pump the brakes on it.
Yeah, because you
pretty
don't
quick.
want to go there
I don't have any desire to be there.
to create that.
Now, if it was a new feeling, I would try to then take a step back and observe as like the scientist, like, ooh, let's look at that. That's new, right? So, and then I would go into it a bit, and because it's new, and so I don't want to bypass
Yeah, anything
new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but so I still feel the stuff, and I'm sort of like, is this new? No, I've been here before, and then that's when I try to shift it, or I don't really try anymore. It just sort of happens.
Yeah, and I guess even the way I've been speaking about it just now is like I've been creating and embellishing this story around it.
Yeah, and then the anxiety gets more. It builds the energy of it.
So I'd rather tell a story of something like every day this gets easier and easier for me, and every day Spirit is helping to show me the way, and every day it's feeling better and better.
Yeah, and
to not create that story.
And whenever I feel lonely, I remember that I am, right? I remember that I am presence. I remember I am God. I cannot be separate from others. I cannot be separate from myself. I cannot be separate from God. I'm as close as I can be.
Yeah. With or without someone else around.
With or without any scenarios.
Yeah.
That the humans conditioned into their being, which I conditioned also and still have. So that's why I still feel that come up too.
And it's also interesting. I'm sure we all can relate to the experience of being with someone, even a loved one, and feeling very alone.
Mm-hmm.
That it's that's not a reliable source.
I'd like to say that my whole life I was loved and supported by my parents and family. I had a lot of friends. I was very social. People generally liked me, and I still felt alone, right? So I started to. I think I learned early that people don't fix that.
The panacea for that.
Right. Yeah. I learned early that people don't fix that for me.
Yeah.
So how do I fix it? And I didn't know. So I would drugs or different alcohol stuff like that to try and dampen.
Yeah.
To try and sort of pull away a little from my feelings, this loneliness that didn't seem to go away.
Yeah. No
matter how many friends I had.
Yes.
It got to a point where I had so many friends that I couldn't have any close connections at all either. I had just too many people to talk to.
Yeah.
And it was just overwhelming for me. And then a lot of the people would be like, they'd want to have a close connection with me, but I just didn't have time for all the people. And so it became this like, oh my God, what have I done to myself? And so even in those states of like being with so many people, I was still lonely. So I think that's part of the reason it's a little easier for me to experience something like me leaving, because I'm aware that loneliness opportunity,
the
invitation for loneliness is right there.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. And I think that this is a lesson that my soul really wants to learn, because I was very alone, literally, almost my whole life. This is really embarrassing, but I didn't have any friends in middle school or high school, and I literally would hide in the bathroom during lunchtime in middle school, and then I'd go to the library in high school because I didn't have anyone to sit with in the cafeteria. And, you know, now I'm a single mom. I live alone unless you're visiting. And I think, obviously, this is where I'm supposed to be. Obviously, I'm supposed to learn something here about being totally okay being alone at times.
Yeah, and I would say, too, just as an observation, that it's all that social loneliness that makes one crave the interaction.
Yes.
So that they build that up without realizing as a kid, they're building this narrative of I'm alone.
Yes.
And I did the same thing, but in a different way.
Yes.
And so now you're likely trying to revisit these feelings to have opportunity to correct or to rebalance. Not correct, because it implies that there's a mistake, but to rebalance it, rejig it in a way that's more harmonious to what you want to express day to day, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think maybe because I was so literally alone for most of my life, I have always craved social interaction, or this, the word belonging always comes up for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've always craved wanting to feel like I belong.
Me too.
To another person or a group, or just that it wasn't just me. And I'm not saying that I need to totally like get rid of that desire. But I think, as you were just saying, I think there's a strong invitation from my ego to think, oh, the problem your whole life is just you've been alone,
right?
And you just need to be around people. And if you were around people, everything would be solved.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I don't think it's so black and white. I think I do like to be around people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think the invitation all along from all these experiences has been to truly find the wholeness and the feeling of oneness with all that is within me.
Yeah.
And really like learn that.
I think that's one of our prime lessons here as humans. That's almost all of us. As we were born, we were literally separated. So the soul comes into that baby, and then it's cozy, and then it comes out of the mother, and it's freaking out because it feels separate from God.
Yes.
There's that initial separation and inability to do anything as well, this helplessness. And so right from the beginning, luckily we forget that trauma, but it's built into us.
It's always there.
It's built
right?
into us as separation.
Yes.
It's in duality.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that kind of seen this picture where like we leave source and we go all the way out here, like super away from source, and we experience all these human experiences, and then as we ascend and evolve, we're just coming back after this long journey, and maybe as we're coming back, that feeling of separation is more potent, or it arises more because we're supposed to integrate that and feel connected, even though we are in some ways, apart from source, but really not.
It's like an elastic band.
Yeah.
As it pulls out, it hits a critical mass.
Yeah.
And then it has to come back.
Right.
And so we have to do that separation. If we look at it linearly,
yeah.
Like I always say to you as a joke, time's not real.
Right.
And I'm not joking, but like when we look at it linearly, then we walk down and we walk away.
Yes.
Without realizing we're walking away
right.
from source.
Right.
We're just and it's not even that we're walking, we're just looking away. We have all these opportunities to see.
Yes. Oh, look, I'm individuated and
yeah.
I can do things independently.
Yeah.
In a way.
We start to, and then we get all these attachments to various things in the material world. And all these things pull at our attention away from source.
Yeah.
And then eventually we hit a point where we just snap back to reality, which is that we've been whole with source the entire road.
Okay.
We've just been looking the other way.
Yeah. And maybe you two can share. I just thought maybe I would think about the practical things I do that do help me feel more whole and connected with all that is when I'm alone.
Yeah.
And I might have said this before on a live stream, but there was this, I'll never forget it. There was this night early on when I was living apart from my kids at times, and I was divorced, and God, I was so lonely. It was very difficult, and I had a nudge to light a candle, and something about just being with the fire, the flame.
Mm-hmm.
I felt close to source, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
That nature element, fire element.
Yeah.
And I slept with the candle lit the whole night, and I just felt, oh, I have company.
There's warmth there. There's
a fire being presence.
Yep.
And I do find that if the loneliness does start to come up in me, going for a walk,
I was just gonna say that's the only practical thing I can think of.
yeah,
Is going for a walk
being
outside
in nature.
in nature.
Yeah.
If you can make it to a pond or a stream or the
Yes.
ocean,
Yes.
water is very, very. I think it's like a giant crystal, and it just emanates light.
Yeah.
And so just go. It's almost like the crystals we wear or what we it's just a giant one.
Yeah.
And so if we could do that, even for me, a shower or a bath, a nice, just relaxing bath, hot bath, sauna, something like that, hot tub. Those things help to sort of just cleanse the energy, I think.
Yeah.
So even if we're not consciously knowing how to shift,
Yeah.
we can just feel very refreshed and we can, clean, relax. But the walk is my biggest probably recommendation. Other than that, you kind of have to go within and figure it out a bit.
I was thinking too that when I came home from dropping off at the airport, I'd go through the whole house with Palo Santo and maybe just say an affirmation like, I am whole. I am one with all that is. I am complete. I am full of, light and love. Or just, it really is the transitions that I do. That's where it's a little tricky.
And the people, I talked about this yesterday, we're going to run out of batteries soon, but at the people that are in our lives that we love, we can hold them in our hearts.
Oh, yeah. You were saying...
I was talking about the sanctum sanctorum, the inner sanctum of the heart.
Yes.
I see two lions sort of at the gate. And as I go to enter, if I'm impure, they don't bow. So they stay standing at a guard and the gate won't open. But if I'm pure and balanced, they lower and bow, and then the gate opens, and then in that sanctum are the people that I love. It's not just the people; it's like their soul, their
or their higher self,
or something.
Yes.
They're there.
Yes.
And I have a lot of comfort to I go visit with them.
Yes.
That's not really a technique that I know how to really teach. It just sort of it just happened one day sort of for me, and I was like, oh, this is neato.
Yes.
But you can build your sanctum once you're aware that there's that in there. There's a courtyard and then there's an inner sanctum.
That would be a really beautiful guided meditation.
Right. We can help people construct theirs.
Yes.
That's a great idea. We should do that. We should totally do that.
Totally.
Because that's what happens is you build it.
Yeah.
Once you're aware that it's there, you can build it with visualization.
Yes.
And then every time you go back, it just gets a little more detailed. There's rooms inside, and there's all these different.
Yes.
Pretty flowers or whatever.
And I shared with you that at times when we've been separated, your higher self has come to me at different times.
Yeah.
And that gave me a lot of comfort. So I think what we're saying is that even if you're not physically with the people you would like to be with, that you can connect with aspects of them.
Yeah, like my granddad, we passed away from COVID last year, and I often feel him and will visit with him.
Yes, right. That's such a great example.
Yeah, and I miss him. Human Sean misses my granddad immensely. I think I was crying the other day about it.
Yes.
I'm not even sure what spurred it on, but it just came on. So grief isn't something that I've had to deal with a lot in my days.
Yeah.
I haven't really had to grieve too much.
Yeah.
Close relationships. So that was obviously something I needed to experience, and it took me a minute to remember. Oh, he's right here.
Yes.
He's always been here.
Yes, and we hear that a lot, and sometimes it can feel a little but I still wish his physical body were here.
That's our alarm to go to the airport.
Yeah.
So I think about loneliness and being single. Is it okay to be alone for a while because they say it's bad for our health, stress-wise and depression, because we are supposed to make connections on Earth? I have an interesting theory on this. I would like to say that isolation is required at certain times. I would never suggest that we shouldn't make connections to people, but I would suggest that giving ourselves time to experience. Essentially, you'll know, like if you follow your heart, you'll know if it's time to pull away from things, and we can resist it. I think in society, they don't want, like the negative agenda, I could say, doesn't want us to be introspective. They want us distracted, and so they want us engaged in as much social stuff as possible,
Yes.
as much TV, media, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
Anything they can do to keep us distracted
Yes.
from ourselves.
From our power.
Yeah,
Yeah, our
because
guidance.
we're all here to find ourselves.
Yep.
You can't do that with others. You have to do that with yourself. So being alone is super important. It's necessary to do it.
And I don't think it necessarily has to be forced.
No.
The guidance and the reality will show you where to go, right? I know after I separated from my ex-spouse, I really wanted to immediately get into another relationship because I felt loneliness.
Yeah, I had that same.
Yeah, and it was not happening. I said, like, Source was, like, cock-blocking me.
Yeah, I love that, yeah.
And
that's basically what happens,
yeah. And I could just feel like, oh, I'm not supposed to be in a relationship right now. I'm supposed to do this inner work. And then, and that was over a period of years, actually.
I was talking with Jess about this the other day. It's like the higher self is walking a dog. I heard this from Aaron Abke.
Yeah.
It's like they're walking a dog, and the dog keeps trying to walk off into the street.
Yeah.
To get hit by cars.
Yeah.
And the higher self is like, no,
yeah,
we're going to go the other way.
Yeah.
And the dog's like, but is there something that smells nice over there? Freaking out.
Totally.
Right?
The dog and humans are looking for, like, immediate comfort.
Yeah.
Immediate comfort. And long-term comfort and peace is going to come from the inner work.
Yeah.
And great relationships too. But yes, so I think there is a time and place for being alone.
Balance
Not
in all
forever.
things. Balance in all things.
Yes.
When it feels like you need to be alone, be alone. When it feels like you want to, there's a difference too between like craving.
Yes.
The social interaction.
Yes.
That's like a egoic craving.
Yes.
Versus the heart knowing that it's the right path at that moment.
Yes.
The craving will feel negative.
Yeah. It'll feel forced.
It'll feel forced. It'll feel a little bad. It'll feel a little lacking. Like it'll be based in fear.
Yes.
So it has a nasty sort of tinge to it.
Your higher self will basically guide you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should probably end there. Thank you so much, Jackie H. Was it? For the question. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all of you. This one's been a bit shorter. The next one we'll do longer.
Yeah.
I'll be near Toronto.
Yeah. Thank you so much. If you have any topics that you'd like for us to discuss, we'd love to hear them. And just wishing everyone out there so much peace and love.
You're
and
not alone.
You're so not alone. And if you're experiencing loneliness, it's like a very normal human experience. And,
absolutely.
And something I think we're just here to learn more about and talk about. And it's all good. It's all good.
It's all gravy, baby.
Yeah. All right. So much love to everybody.
Love.
Bye.
Love. Bye-bye. Oh, and any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll definitely respond.